Okay, imagine you're on a massive website like Mitra,
Oh, yeah.
and you're on the hunt for something specific,
Right.
like a particular pair of Nikes you really want.
Okay.
How do you zero in on those shoes
Yeah.
without getting completely lost?
Hmm.
It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Well, websites have this sort of internal GPS for elements on a page.
Really?
It's called XPath,
XPath.
and you can use it to pinpoint exactly what you're after.
So it's like a secret code for finding things online.
Kinda, yeah. In this deep dive,
Yeah.
we're exploring a technical guide all about XPath.
Cool.
This guide is supposed to be the key to unlocking this superpower.
Superpower.
Superpower. Using XPath for web automation testing,
Oh, interesting.
specifically with Selenium.
Now, I gotta admit, when I first saw XPath,
Uh-huh.
it looked like hieroglyphics to me.
Yeah, it can be a bit intimidating.
What's with this absolute versus relative XPath business?
Good question.
Like, what even is that?
Think of it like giving directions. Absolute XPath is like giving directions from a fixed starting point,
Okay, I'm following.
always starting at the same spot.
Right.
But what if there's construction or road closure?
Oh, your directions would be useless.
Exactly.
So that's where relative XPath comes in.
You got it. It's like saying, find the nearest coffee shop,
Okay.
regardless of your location.
Makes sense.
It's adaptable, way more reliable for web automation.
Because websites change all the time.
All the time.
So how do we actually use this relative XPath magic?
Good question.
I see in our guide that it uses mantra as an example.
All right.
And it shows a sample query.
Yeah.
It's let me see if I can read this.
Take your time.
At data group men.
Okay. So what that's saying is,
Yeah.
find any link, a tag,
Okay.
that has an attribute called data group
Got it.
with the value of men.
So it's finding all the links to the men's section.
Exactly.
So to make these queries, we need to know how a web page is structured.
Right.
The guide mentions a hierarchy.
Yeah, like a family tree of web elements.
Interesting.
Every web page has this hierarchical structure,
I see.
and each element has its place.
Okay.
Starting with the HTML tag,
Yeah.
like the grandparent of the whole page.
Gotcha.
Then comes the body tag, the parent,
Duck.
and within the body you have all the children,
The children.
like div, p, a, and so on.
I get it.
And the guide gives us a Mintra-like HTML snippet to visualize this.
Cool. Let's take a look.
We've got the root node, the HTML tag at the top.
At the very top.
Then comes the header, nav, main.
It's like those Russian nesting dolls.
Exactly. And within those, you find even more specific elements.
So if we wanted to find, say, the Add to Cart button,
Yeah,
we need to know exactly where it lives in this family tree.
exactly.
And that's where XPath comes in.
Precisely.
It helps us find the exact element we're looking for.
Like navigating a family tree.
I see.
XPath is the language that lets us say,
Ah.
find the element that's a child of this element and a sibling of that element.
It's all about understanding relationships.
Yeah, it is.
This is fascinating.
Why do you think so?
Okay, so we've got the basics of XPath down,
Yeah.
and we're starting to see how to pinpoint specific elements.
Yeah.
But what happens when we need to find an element that's like more elusive, like something tucked away in a nested menu?
That's where things get really interesting.
Really?
XPath has some powerful features for those trickier situations.
Like what?
Remember how we talked about the web page as a family tree?
Yeah, the hierarchy.
Right. Well, XPath lets us traverse that tree,
Diverse.
moving between elements based on their relationships.
So instead of targeting an element directly, we can use its relatives to find it.
Exactly.
It's starting to feel like a digital detective.
I like that. Imagine you have a product image,
Okay.
and you need to find the description below it.
Yeah.
You can use XPath's following sibling axis.
Hold on. Following sibling?
Yeah, to select the element that comes right after the image.
So following sibling means we're
Yeah.
looking for the element right after our target,
Right.
but on the same level of the hierarchy.
Exactly, like a sibling.
Okay, so it's like
Yeah.
you found one sibling,
Uh-huh.
and now you want to find the next one in line.
Perfect analogy.
Okay, I'm with you.
Good.
So we could use following sibling to move forward.
Right.
Can we also move backward?
Of course.
Like, what if I need to find the element that comes before my target?
You're thinking like a pro.
Really?
XPath has a preceding sibling axis for that.
Preceding sibling. Oh,
It lets you select the element that comes immediately before.
so we can move forward and backward.
Yeah.
Can we also move up and down?
You mean like from a child element to its parent?
Exactly.
Absolutely. XPath has access for that too.
Wow, this is amazing.
You can use parent to select the direct parent.
Okay.
For example, if you have a button inside a div,
Yeah.
You can use parent to select that div.
Gotcha. So what if we need to jump multiple levels up?
Like from a grandchild to its grandparent?
Yeah. Is that possible?
No problem.
Really?
That's where ancestor comes in.
Ancestors.
It lets you select any ancestor of an element.
Wow. So we can go straight to the top of the family tree.
Precisely.
With these axes, we can pinpoint any element on a page,
Oh, got it.
no matter how complex. I see the power of this for automating tasks.
Exactly. It gives you that flexibility.
And when working with these advanced axes, we should take our time.
Yes, definitely.
Break down the query, visualize the tree,
Right.
make sure we understand each step.
Don't rush the process.
Clarity is key.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm ready to level up.
All right.
I see the guide has a section on advanced XPath.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It looks pretty intense.
It starts with the descendant axis.
Descendants.
We briefly mentioned that earlier.
I vaguely remember.
It's like the opposite of ancestor.
So instead of going up,
Mm-hmm.
descendant lets us go down
Right.
and select all the descendants of an element. You got it.
So if you have a div
Yeah.
with a bunch of nested elements inside,
Paragraphs, links, images.
you can use descendant to select all of them at once.
Exactly.
That's incredibly useful.
It is.
And then there's following and preceding.
Right.
They sound kind of like following sibling and preceding sibling, but a little different.
You're right to notice the similarity.
So what's the difference?
The sibling axes only focus on elements with the same parent.
Okay.
Following and preceding cast a wider net.
Wider net.
They select any elements that come after or before.
So it's not just about brothers and sisters anymore.
It's about any element.
Even if they're distant relatives.
Precisely. Imagine you have a heading
Yeah.
and you want to find all the paragraphs after it.
Okay.
You can use following to do that.
Even if they're nested in different sections.
Exactly.
Okay. My mind is officially blown.
Glad to hear it.
These advanced axes are so powerful.
They are. And the best way to understand them is to experiment.
Yeah. The guide provides some real-world scenarios.
Like what?
Automating login forms, navigating menus,
Oh, interesting.
handling dynamic elements. Those can be tricky.
Yeah. Sounds challenging.
I encourage you to try them out, play around,
I will.
see how you can target elements on your favorite websites.
This deep dive is giving me a whole new appreciation for XPath.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's not just about finding elements.
Right.
It's about understanding the structure of a web page
Exactly.
and using that knowledge to automate tasks
Precisely.
in really creative ways.
Well said. And remember, even if these advanced concepts seem daunting,
Yeah.
don't get discouraged.
Oh.
Take your time, break down the queries,
Gotcha.
and experiment. Practice makes perfect.
I'm definitely going to practice.
Good.
Welcome back to our deep dive on XPath. We've gone from basic queries to these powerful axes.
It's been quite a journey.
And now, I'm ready for the ultimate web automation challenge.
Which is?
Dynamic elements.
Ah, yes, those sneaky elements that change all the time.
Their attributes, their IDs.
Even their position.
So it's like trying to hit a moving target.
But don't worry, XPath has the tools we need.
Okay, good, because I was starting to sweat a little.
Remember those XPath functions we talked about?
You mean like contains, starts with text?
Those are our secret weapons for dynamic elements.
They let us target elements based on just part of their attribute, right?
Exactly. We don't rely on those fixed IDs that can change.
So we're not stuck with locators that break when a website updates.
Precisely. Let's say we have a search bar, but its ID changes every time.
Oh, I've seen that happen.
Instead of guessing the full ID, we can use contains.
To target any element with search in its ID.
Exactly, even if the full ID is something crazy long.
The guide has a great example. It uses this query.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Input contains. At class, search input.
Perfect example. Even if the class name is search input 12345.
We can still find our search bar.
See, flexibility is key with dynamic content.
What about the text function? When would we use that?
Imagine a button where the text might change slightly.
Like add to cart versus add to bag.
Exactly. Text targets the button regardless of those variations.
So we're not limited by those small changes in the text.
Well, we can handle them with ease.
The guide also mentioned dynamic elements in login forms.
Ah, yes, login forms.
They're notorious for having unpredictable IDs and classes,
Websites use dynamic IDs there for security reasons.
which makes it tough for automation.
It does, but we can use XPath to overcome those challenges.
One example used this, web element username, driver.findElement, by.xpath, input at name, username.
Right, they're targeting the username field by its name.
But what if the name attribute is also dynamic?
Then we bring in our XPath functions again.
We could use contains
Yeah.
to target any input field with username in the name.
Exactly. Or we could use following sibling if there's a stable label next to it.
So many options.
There are often multiple ways to achieve our goal with XPath.
This is incredible. We've gone from feeling intimidated to feeling empowered.
It's amazing how much we can accomplish with XPath.
It's like we've unlocked a secret language for communicating with websites,
And it's not just for testing. XPath is useful for so much more.
like web scraping and data extraction.
Exactly. It opens up a world of possibilities for anyone working with websites.
This deep dive has been a game changer for me.
I'm happy to hear that.
I went from clueless to confident about tackling web automation,
That's fantastic.
and it's been a lot of fun along the way.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Remember, this is just the beginning.
You mean there's even more to learn about XPath?
There's always more to explore. Keep practicing and experimenting.
I definitely will. Thanks for guiding us through this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope you've learned some valuable insights today.
And we hope you're feeling inspired to put your knowledge into practice.
Until next time, keep exploring the amazing world of web automation.